A 4-year-old girl walked up to me on a park bench and asked if I was lonely. I said yes. That conversation changed my entire life. My name is Rebecca Cooper. I was 35 years old, CEO of a media company, and I had everything. The career, the money, the respect. And I was completely empty inside. It was my birthday. I'd woken up that morning in my expensive apartment, completely alone. No calls. No plans. Just another day of work emails and meetings. I remember standing in front of my bathroom mirror, putting on my makeup, and thinking, is this it? Is this really all there is? I'd spent 15 years climbing the corporate ladder. I became the youngest CEO in my company's history at 32. My father had built Cooper Media Group from nothing, and when he retired, he handed it to me. I was proud of that. I worked 80-hour weeks to prove I deserved it. But somewhere along the way, I'd stopped living. I had colleagues, not friends. I had business dinners, not relationships. I had a calendar full of meetings and an empty apartment to come home to every night. So I took my lunch break in the park, sitting on a cold bench in the snow, wondering if this was really it. If this was all my life was going to be. That's when Ruby showed up. She was maybe 4 or 5 years old, wearing this brown coat that was too big for her, holding a beat-up teddy bear. Light blonde hair in a messy ponytail. And she just stood there, staring at me with these serious eyes. "Excuse me, ma'am," she said. I looked up from my phone. "Yes? Are you sad?" Nobody had asked me that in years. I didn't even know how to answer. "What makes you think I'm sad? You look like my daddy does sometimes. Like you're carrying something heavy." She tilted her head. "Are you lonely?" And right there, something cracked open inside me. This tiny kid had just seen straight through everything. The expensive coat, the perfect hair, the CEO title. All of it. "Sometimes," I said. And it was the most honest thing I'd said in months. "Are you here with your parents?" I asked. "Just my daddy. He's over there." She pointed to a man on another bench, talking on his phone. He looked stressed, running his hand through his hair. "He's always on the phone for work. He says it's important." "I understand that," I said quietly. I understood it way too well. I was that person. Always on the phone. Always working. Always too busy for actual life. "My name is Ruby," she said, holding up her teddy bear. "This is Mr. Monty. What's your name?" "Rebecca." She studied me for a long moment. Then she said something that nearly broke me. "I don't have a mama. She's in heaven. Daddy says she's watching over me, but sometimes I really wish I could see her. Talk to her. Have someone to do girl things with." My chest got tight. "I'm so sorry, sweetheart. That must be very hard. Daddy tries. He really does. But he's always working and he doesn't know how to do braids. And sometimes I just want—" She stopped, then looked up at me with these hopeful eyes. "Ma'am, can I spend a day with you? Just one day. You could be my mama for a day. We could do girl things. I promise I'll be good." I felt tears in my eyes. "Ruby, please," she said. Her voice was so small. "Just one day. Daddy's always busy and I don't have anyone to do mama things with. We could get ice cream or look at pretty things. Please." I looked at this little kid, at the loneliness in her eyes that matched my own. And something shifted inside me. For the first time in years, someone actually needed me. Not CEO Rebecca Cooper. Not the woman who could close deals and run board meetings. Just me. "Let me talk to your daddy first, okay? We need to make sure he says it's all right." Her face lit up. "Really? You'll ask him?" "I'll ask him." She grabbed my hand, this tiny, warm hand, and pulled me toward the bench. My heart was pounding. What was I doing? I didn't know anything about kids. I'd never even thought about having children. My life was work. That was it. But something about Ruby's question had cracked something open in me. "Are you lonely?" "Yes." God, yes, I was lonely. As we got closer, I could hear his phone conversation. I understand the deadline, but I'm a single parent. I can't work 16-hour days anymore. There has to be some flexibility. He paused. Yes, I know the project is important. I'm doing my best. The exhaustion in his voice was familiar. I heard it in my own voice every day. He looked up as we approached and quickly ended the call. Up close, I could see he was probably late 30s, with kind but exhausted eyes. He wore jeans and a dark jacket and looked like he hadn't slept well in days. "Ruby, honey, I told you not to bother people," he said gently. I didn't bother her, Daddy. I asked her something important. I extended my hand. "I'm Rebecca Cooper. Your daughter just made a very sweet request, and I wanted to discuss it with you properly." He shook my hand, looking cautious. "I'm Owen Parker." "What kind of request?" She asked if she could spend a day with me. To do girl things and have someone to be her mama for a day. I kept my voice soft. "She told me her mother passed away." Owen's face crumbled a little. "Ruby, honey, you can't just ask strangers." "But she's not a stranger anymore, Daddy. Her name is Rebecca and she's really nice and she looks lonely like us and maybe we could all be less lonely together." Owen looked between his daughter and me. I could see him torn between protecting her and recognizing what she needed. "Miss Cooper, I appreciate your kindness, but we couldn't possibly impose." "You're not imposing," Ruby asked. And honestly, I paused, surprised by my own honesty. "I think I need this as much as she does." Something in my voice must have convinced him because his expression softened. "Can we sit down and talk about this properly?" We sat on the bench together, Ruby between us. And I told them everything. How I was CEO of a media company. How I'd never married, never had children. How I'd poured everything into my career. How I'd woken up that morning on my 35th birthday and realized I was completely alone. No family. No close friends. Just work. "I came to this park to think," I said. "To figure out if this is really the life I want." And then Ruby appeared and saw right through me. "She's a very perceptive little girl," Owen said, looking at his daughter with so much love it hurt to watch. "Her mother was the same way. She passed away 2 years ago. Cancer. Since then, it's been just us. I'm trying to be both parents, but I'm failing at it." He explained how he was a software engineer, how his company kept demanding more hours, how Ruby needed attention he couldn't always give her, how he couldn't do her hair properly, how he didn't know what to say when she asked questions about growing up as a girl, how he saw her withdrawing, getting quieter, sadder. "She needs female influence," he said. "Someone to teach her things I don't know how to teach. Someone who can answer the questions I can't. I've been looking into big sister programs, but there's a waiting list. What if we made this a regular thing?" I said slowly. "Not just one day, but maybe one day a week. I could take Ruby for the day, do activities with her, give you some time to work or rest. And it would give me," I looked at Ruby. "It would give me something I didn't know I was missing." Owen studied me carefully. "Miss Cooper. Rebecca, please. Rebecca, why would you do this? You don't know us." "Because your daughter asked me if I was lonely, and I realized I am. I've spent 15 years building a career and forgot to build a life. And because she looks at me like maybe I could be something important to someone. Do you know how rare that is?" I looked at Ruby, who was watching me with those serious eyes. "I go to work every day and make decisions that affect hundreds of people. But nobody actually needs me. Nobody looks at me the way your daughter just did. Like I matter. Not because of what I do, but because of who I am." Owen was quiet for a long moment. "Can I think about it? Maybe we could exchange information. You could provide references. We could do this safely and properly." "Of course. That's smart." I pulled out a business card and wrote my personal cell on the back. "Call me if you decide this is something you're comfortable with. No pressure." That night, Owen called. We talked for over an hour. He asked careful questions about my background, my intentions, my life. I answered honestly. I told him about my empty apartment, my non-existent social life, my realization that I'd built a successful career but had nothing else. I gave him references, my assistant, my lawyer, people who could vouch for my character. He told me more about Ruby's mother, how they'd been high school sweethearts, how she'd fought cancer for 3 years before it finally won, how Ruby barely remembered her now, which broke his heart. She deserves to have women in her life, Owen said. She deserves to learn things from someone who understands what it's like to be a girl growing up. I can't give her that. By the end, we'd agreed to try it. 1 Saturday a month to start. See how it went. The first Saturday, I picked Ruby up at 9 in the morning. I'd barely slept the night before. I was nervous and excited in equal measure. I'd planned an entire day. Breakfast at a cafe, the children's museum, lunch, maybe some shopping. I'd also spent 2 hours the night before watching YouTube videos on how to talk to kids. I had no idea what I was doing. Ruby appeared at the door in her brown coat, clutching Mr. Monty, her face glowing. You came. Of course I came. I promised, didn't I? Owen stood behind her, looking relieved and nervous. You have my number if anything comes up. And Ruby, you be good for Rebecca, okay? I will, Daddy. In the car, Ruby was quiet at first. Then she said, Rebecca, are you sure you want to spend the day with me? I'm absolutely sure. Why do you ask? Because sometimes grown-ups say they'll do things but then they're too busy. My heart broke a little. I'm never too busy for you, Ruby. I promise. We spent the day doing everything I'd planned and several things I hadn't. Ruby wanted to look at everything, touch everything, ask questions about everything. She held my hand as we walked, chattered about her dreams and fears and favorite things. At the children's museum, she showed me how to make giant bubbles. At breakfast, she ordered pancakes and told me about her best friend at school. She was so open, so trusting, so full of life. At lunch, she said, Rebecca, can I tell you something? Always. My mama used to take me for hot chocolate before she got sick. I miss that. I don't remember her face so good anymore, but I remember the hot chocolate. I felt tears sting my eyes. Would you like to get hot chocolate after lunch? Yes, please. And Rebecca? Can you tell me about when you were a little girl? Daddy tells me stories about Mama, but I want to know about you too. So we sat in the cafe drinking hot chocolate with whipped cream, and I told her things I'd never told anyone. About feeling lonely as a kid because my parents worked all the time. About pouring myself into school and work because I didn't know how to connect with people. About realizing too late that success without connection is just emptiness. And Ruby told me about her mother. How she used to sing lullabies and make funny pancakes and always knew when Ruby needed a hug. How she'd been sick for a long time but always tried to smile for Ruby. How one day she just didn't wake up. I'm not trying to replace her, I said gently. Your mama sounds like she was wonderful. She was. But Daddy says it's okay to love other people too. That mama would want me to have people who care about me. She looked up at me. Do you care about me, Rebecca? Yes, I said, realizing it was true. I do. Very much. Good. Because I care about you too. When I brought Ruby home that evening, she hugged me so tight. Can we do this again? Absolutely. Owen stood in the doorway, and I could see tears in his eyes. Thank you, he said quietly. She hasn't smiled like that in months. 1 Saturday a month became 2. Then every weekend. I found myself rearranging my schedule, delegating more at work, leaving the office earlier. Things I'd never done before. Things that would have been unthinkable 6 months ago. My assistant noticed. You seem different, she said one day. Happier. I am, I said. And I meant it. I taught Ruby how to braid hair. We practiced on her dolls first, then on each other. The first time I successfully braided her hair, she looked in the mirror and started crying. What's wrong? I asked, panicking. Mama used to braid my hair. I forgot what it felt like. Thank you for remembering for me. We baked cookies together, making a complete mess of my pristine kitchen and laughing about it. We went to the zoo and the aquarium and art museums. I bought Ruby books and clothes and toys, then stopped myself, worried I was overstepping. But Owen assured me it was fine. You're giving her something I can't, he said one evening when he picked Ruby up. You're giving her female attention and guidance. You're teaching her things I wouldn't even know to teach. And honestly, you're giving me something too. Time to breathe. Time to be a better parent because I'm not so overwhelmed. She's giving me more than I'm giving her, I admitted. I was so lonely, Owen. I didn't realize how lonely until Ruby asked to spend a day with me. I thought I was fine. I thought work was enough, but it wasn't. It was never enough. 6 months into our arrangement, Ruby asked me to come to her kindergarten's mother-daughter tea party. I know you're not my real mama, Ruby said carefully, but you're the closest thing I have. Would you come, please? My throat got tight. Of course I'll come. I attended that tea party, sitting with Ruby at a small table, drinking pretend tea from tiny cups. I met Ruby's teacher, who assumed I was Ruby's mother. I didn't correct her. I watched Ruby introduce me to her friends with so much pride. This is Rebecca. She's my special person. One little girl asked, is she your mama? Ruby thought about it. She's my forever person, she said finally. That's even better. After the tea party, as we walked to the car, Ruby slipped her hand into mine. Thank you for coming. I was the only kid who didn't know if they'd have someone there. But you came. I'll always come when you need me, sweetheart. Always. That night, Owen invited me to stay for dinner. It had become a regular thing, me staying after I brought Ruby home. We'd eat together, talk about our weeks, about Ruby, about life. I'd started to realize I looked forward to these evenings as much as my days with Ruby. Owen made me laugh. He listened when I talked. He saw me, not just the CEO version of me. Can I ask you something? Owen said after Ruby went to bed. Of course. When Ruby first asked you to spend a day with her, why did you really say yes? I was quiet for a moment. Because I'd spent my entire birthday alone. Because I realized I'd built this impressive career, but I had no one to share it with. Because I was sitting on a bench wondering if this was all there was to life. And then this little girl appeared and saw right through all my armor and asked me if I was lonely. And I couldn't lie to her. My voice got soft. She saved me, Owen. As much as I like to think I'm helping her, she saved me from a life of accomplishment without meaning. Before Ruby, I measured my worth by deals closed and profits made. Now I measure it by braids perfected and bedtime stories read. And that's so much better. Owen reached across the table and took my hand. You've saved us too. Both of us. Ruby is happier than she's been since her mother died. She laughs again. She talks about the future. And he paused. I'm falling in love with you, Rebecca. I didn't plan it. I didn't expect it. But watching you with my daughter, seeing how you care for her, getting to know you these past months, I'm in love with you. I felt tears slip down my cheeks. I love you too. Both of you. This family you've let me be part of. I love it more than anything I've ever built or achieved. We were married a year later. Ruby was the flower girl, carrying Mr. Monty and a bouquet of flowers, beaming with pride. At the reception, she gave a speech that made everyone cry. I asked Rebecca to be my mama for one day, Ruby said seriously. And she said yes. And then she stayed. Every day. She's not my first mama, but she's my forever mama. And I'm really happy. Mama in heaven would be happy too. I know she would. The transition wasn't always easy. There were hard days. Days when Ruby cried for her biological mother and I felt helpless. Days when I didn't know what to do or say. Days when I worried I was failing her. One night, Ruby woke up crying. I heard her from down the hall and went to her room. What's wrong, sweetheart? I had a dream about Mama. And when I woke up, I couldn't remember what she smelled like. I'm forgetting her, Rebecca. I don't want to forget her. I held her while she cried. You're not forgetting her, Ruby. You're growing. And your mama will always be part of you. But it's okay to make room for new love too. That doesn't erase the old love. It just makes your heart bigger. Really? Really? Your mama gave you the ability to love so deeply. That's her gift to you. And using that gift to love other people honors her. But we figured it out together. We built something real. Something strong. 3 years later, I was sitting on the same park bench where I'd first met Ruby. I was pushing a stroller now, with my and Owen's 6-month-old son sleeping peacefully inside. Ruby, now 8, sat beside me reading a book. What are you thinking about? Ruby asked, looking up. About the day we met. About how you asked me if I was lonely. Were you? Very. I didn't realize how much until you asked. Are you still lonely? I looked at my stepdaughter, then at the baby in the stroller, then thought about Owen waiting at home. No, sweetheart. I'm not lonely anymore. Thanks to you. I'm not lonely either. Ruby leaned against my shoulder. You know what? I think sometimes angels come as little girls with teddy bears, and sometimes they come as sad ladies on park benches. And sometimes they find each other exactly when they're supposed to. I kissed the top of Ruby's head. I think you're exactly right. Later, I thought about how one question from a child had changed my entire life. How can I spend a day with you had turned into forever. How the loneliest moment of my life had been the beginning of the greatest gift I'd ever received. I'd been sitting on that bench, successful and accomplished and completely empty, wondering if this was all there was. And a little girl with a teddy bear had appeared and offered me something more precious than any achievement. A place to belong. A family. Love. I'd spent years building an empire, but Ruby had taught me that the most important thing you can build is connection. Family. Home. The career was still there. I still ran my company, still made important decisions, still achieved things. But now it was balanced with soccer games and bedtime stories and family dinners. With a stepdaughter who'd chosen me and a husband who loved me and a son who'd completed our family. All because a little girl had seen through my armor and asked a simple question. Can I spend a day with you? One day had become forever. And I, Rebecca Cooper, who'd spent my life building success, had finally learned what it meant to build something that truly mattered. A family. A home. A life filled not with achievements, but with love. All because I'd said yes to a lonely little girl in a park. And that little girl had saved me right back. Thanks for listening, and if you liked this story, share it with others, and don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about second chances and the unexpected connections that change our lives forever. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is say yes to love when it shows up unannounced.